All right, everybody, welcome. And I'm just working on the end of 2 Corinthians chapter 9 today, so it's not too many verses, but it is certainly its own thought to cap off the first 9 verses of chapter 9, which are all pretty tight. So here he's adding on to where he ended in verse 9, quoting Psalm 112 about the righteous man and how he is generous. So here in verse 10, he is going to connect that righteous man's generosity back to God, who gives what the righteous man has to share in the first place. So we're going to look at this. So he supplies seed to the sower and bread for food. The supplying seed, bread, and also the bread. So I'm going to put that, both minister. It's a weird way to put it in the KJV. And bread for food. So in the Greek, it looks like the supplying is more the idea will supply and multiply your seed. So will supply and multiply. So those are two distinct ideas. That's a weird way that it has it. And increase the fruits. No. Both minister bread for your food. That's weird in the Greek, but we're going to leave that. Will supply and multiply. That might be a manuscript issue. And will augment or increase the harvest of your righteousness. Okay, so that's one thought. Then clearly, another thought, you will be enriched in every way, and all you will be enriched. Toda liberalidad, which through us is producing, which is working through us, thanksgiving to God. So I think we're going to leave that there. For the ministry of the service is not only supplying the needs of the saints, but it's also overflowing many thanksgivings to God. So just that you only have 4 lines here in the ESV, 5 in the NASB, but you have a lot of words here in the Greek. Hate diakona. For this, the ministry, diakonia, where we get like deacon, diakon, diakonia, the service, liturgias, tates. So it has it like prepped there with a comma, you can see, and then it's gonna have like it does not only this but also that. Measure the service what is doing a couple things. Not only the needs of the saints, but also. So it's gonna be a this and that kind of a thing. But it's also reflecting many thanksgivings to God. So leave it there. Interestingly, we have more lines in the ESV, fewer in the Greek, similar in the Spanish. So by their fruit of the service, so they document the appraisal of the service of this. They will glorify, glorificarán, they glorify God, they glorify God, they will glorify God. Why? Upon or because of the bidoa, for the confession. Wow, this is a kind of complicated phrase. So in English, they will glorify God because of your submission that comes from your confession of the gospel of Christ. Glorificarán a Dios por vuestra obediencia a vuestra confesión del Evangelio de Cristo. Doxatzontes tonteon epite hupatage tes homologias. That's the confession, homolog, like saying the same thing. Human esta evangelion to Christus. We got to put that all as one. That's crazy. And for. So they're glorifying God because of your submission of the confession of you to the gospel of Christ. Because of your submission of your confession to the gospel of Christ. Confession too, but I guess in the way we translate it. Interesting, KJV has unto the gospel of Christ, which is more like that eista evangelion, that's accusative, unto the gospel to Christu, of Christ, of the Christ. And then here we have of the confession of the gospel of Christ. I wonder if that's a normal way of saying that in Greek. I don't actually know. And also the generosity, aplotetes koinonias, the sharing, the participation, and for all others. So, and for your generous distribution and participation, sharing with them and to everyone else. While kaiotan say, huperamon, where they long for you, will they pray for you and long for you, demuestran. So I'm going to put this differently. So this needs to be here. Do it this way. How do they do that? Demuestran su anhelo. Dietes super baluson karin to exceeding grace. Through the exceeding grace of God, for the exceeding grace of God in you, because of the surpassing grace of God in you, because of the surpassing grace of God on you. It's got to be that way. Okay. And then gracias. Okay, so thanks to God for the inexpressible gift of Him. So I'm just going to leave that there as its own. So now we have to put this all together. Some of this language is a bit difficult. He who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will supply. So he supplies those two things. That's a series. What will he do? He will do these two things, these three things. He will supply, will multiply, and increase. So the one who does that will do that. So those just all go together. You will be enriched in every way to be generous in every way. I'm going to make those separate. Para toda liberalidad, to all bountifulness, for all liberality, to be generous in every way. So that's going to be like an action, purpose, and this is going to be a result. Action, result. So this is the purpose. You're going to be rich in everything in order to be generous, which is interesting. So you receive to share, and then the result of that is thanksgiving to God. For this is the ground for these two things. The ministry of this service is not only supplying the needs of the saints, but is also overflowing in many thanksgivings to God. No, not just that, but also this. So not, but. So negative, not only doing this, that's a negative kind of way of saying it, but also this, a positive way of saying it. For the ministry of the service, and then two things about it. So I'm going to call that an ID explanation. By their approval of the service, they will glorify God. I'm going to put this separate now. For vuestra obediencia, for your obedience to gospel, because of your submission of gospel. That comes through your confession of the gospel of Christ. That's a weird way to put it. For your obedience to confession of the gospel of Christ. For your professed subjection to the gospel of Christ. Por vuestra obediencia, vuestra confesión, to the obedience to the confession of the gospel. For your obedience of the confession. So, obedience to the confession, to the gospel of Christ, unto the gospel of Christ. So I kind of like this one, but we're going to have to see. By their approval of this service, they will glorify God. So what will happen by their approval of this service? They will glorify God because of your submission and the generosity. Okay, so we're going to put these together because these two things, so a series, by their approval of the service, they will glorify because of this. So because of this, that. This, therefore, that. So this is really an inference. So they will glorify God because of your approval of the service. But that all happens because of the submission and the generosity. So he's telling them they will approve the service, and as a result of that, they will glorify God. And all that comes as a result of, the ground of that is this right here, your submission and generosity. Submission to the confession and the generosity of their contribution. So what they confess in doctrine and what they actually practice in life. And for all others, so you're also, it's not just you're sharing to them, but for all others while they long for you. So what is this? How does this work? By their approval of the service, they glorify God, and also, so it's not just that they glorify God because of submission, generosity of your contribution to them, but the contribution goes to all others while they long for you and pray for you because of this blessing grace of God upon you. So this needs to be broken up. It's not right. So confirm that. So we also need to delete this because the generosity, the generosity has to, got it. All right, so generosity has to be, this has to be put under generosity. Generosity and for all others. So contribution for them and for all others and to all men y para todos y calles cuantas. So generosity for them and for all others while they long for you and pray for you. So does that best go under they glorify God while they long for you and pray for you, or do they long for the because of your contribution for them and for all others while they long for you? And okay, so this all others has to be for them. Has to be for them. So this has to go together while they long for you and pray for you. Because of the surpassing grace of God upon you, this is the ground for them longing for you and praying for you. The generosity contribution for them has to be part of this. So they will glorify God while they long for you. Okay, get done. So this is a bunch of kais here. Glorifying God. It's a participle. A lot of participles. There's a verb here. Only supplying the needs of the saints. But it's also overflowing. This is another verb. Many thanksgivings to God. So there's like a pause here. Through their approval service, they will glorify God. Through their approval service, glorifying God, technically, because of your submission. They glorify God because of your submission and the generosity to them and to all. Pause. While they longing for you and praying for you, because of the surpassing gift for others. So they'll glorify God while they long for you and pray for you. I think it's got to be that. So they're going to glorify God because of this and that. So by the fruit service, they glorify God. This has got to be ground. Oops. Delete that. This goes together here. And then this goes as a ground. And then this is something that's happening while that's happening. they're going to be glorifying God because those two things about you. And then they're also going to be doing that. So while they glorify God, this really describes it, the way that they're doing it. So it says something else about it and adds on to it. And then Paul concludes this exclamation, thanks be to God for his inexpressible gifts. And now we need to deal with that. So up here, he who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will supply and multiply your seed for sowing and increasing. You will be rich in every way, blah, 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 blah. So for the ministry of the service, so this has to be a series to go together. And for the ministry of the service, which because the ministry of the service, this is the ground. So because of this is true, in a sense. By the approval of the service. So he mentions the ministry of the service. By the approval of the service, they will glorify God. So it just adds on. Thanks be to God for his inexpressible gift. So the idea seems to be these three go together as a progression. Paul is leading toward this final conclusion. Karisto theo epito anekdiegeto autu dorea. So gracias a Dios por su don inefable. Thanks be unto God for his unspeakable gift. Thanks be to God for his indescribable gift. Thanks be to God for his inexpressible gift. Okay, fine. So 1, 2, 3, with these all moving toward one another. The service itself, what happens as a result of the service, and then the end result. Wow, isn't God awesome? Pretty cool. All right, we'll see where that goes. With that, we'll conclude, and we'll see y'all next Wednesday.